So welcome to our first episode of TMD Talks. Joined here by my dear friend, just picked him up from the airport in Chicago. Thanks for making it to Detroit. Besa, beautiful restaurant, opened up by Wendy Farner and friends. Thanks, Wendy, for letting us host our first one here. My good friend, Israel Idonije, 11-year NFL veteran.
Correct.
Majority of those seasons with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And
One in Detroit.
One in Detroit. And so, Izzy, welcome back to Detroit. Thanks for being with me today.
It's a pleasure. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. So when I mentioned the idea of us getting together, I really told you how much I've enjoyed the last several years of our growing friendship and how much I've learned and how grateful I am for that. I'd love to maybe have you take some of our friends through a little bit of your life, some of the hard work that you put in to achieve the success that you did in sports, and maybe talk to us about one or two of the key things that you were really committed and consistent about that led to that success in sports and is now leading to the success you're having in business and life.
Yeah, so growing up, I never necessarily wanted to play football. I truly wanted to be a basketball player. My dream, my parents made us a journal every day as children. I wrote in my journal that I wanted to play for the Chicago Bulls as a child. Michael Jordan was like my idol. And I also wrote that I'd make my first $1 million at 13, that I'd make my first $1 million by the time I was 25. So we were, as a family, from humble, meager, beginnings. My parents are missionaries. We moved from Lagos, Nigeria, to Canada when I was 4 years old. And my father's mission, called Street Love, is all we knew. We picked up food from food partners 1st and 15th of every month. We'd give it to families who needed it as food support. The food that needed to be used immediately, we'd make soup, sandwiches, and we would take it under bridges and we'd feed the homeless and the needy. And that Street Love program was a major part of my life. And with that also, I fell in love with basketball and sports. I played basketball every day in preparation for this dream to be a Chicago Bull and to play in the NBA ultimately, which was my dream. When I was 17, I was running after school programs at the YMCA and running a youth leadership program. My boss at that YMCA program came to me and said, "Hey, Izzy, I want you to play football." I said, I'm not a football player. I went out for football in grade 9. I don't like football. I'm going to stay with basketball. He said, "Come on, Izzy, worst case scenario, you're gonna get in great shape for basketball." And I loved Coach Grindy. He convinced me to play. I played that 1 year. That was it. He convinced my mother to get me to drive 2.5 hours from Brandon to Winnipeg and try out for Team Manitoba. I did not want to go. I cried the whole ride. And I got to the practice. They gave me equipment. I'm very competitive. I dominated the practice. I made the team. At the practice was the head coach of the University of Manitoba, Brian Dobie. They signed me to the university. I played at the University of Manitoba for 5 years. I really only played 2 of those 5 years. The other 3, I was redshirt and limited play. And the Cleveland Browns, one scout from the Cleveland Browns came and worked me out in 2003 and signed me to a 1-week contract so signed me to a training camp contract, and it changed my life. The Chicago Bears, they signed me to a 1-week contract in November 2003. I flew down here to Chicago. After that 1 week, they extended me to the end of the year, and that 1 week turned into an 11-year NFL career, and it was an incredible journey, full of struggle and challenge. But throughout that journey, things that really resonate are, through the challenge, you have to remain, or you have to keep a clear vision. Like, what are you fighting for every day? Maintain that vision. You have to be able to find a way to motivate yourself, right? You can't, the motivation can't come externally. I want to start, of course. I got there 2003. I did not become a full starter till 2009. So from 2003 to 2009, when I first earned my full starting job, learning how to wake up, motivate myself to be the best special teams player, to be the best backup three technique, to be the best whatever they wanted me to be. And within that, telling myself the narrative that I needed to do. So I gave my best so I can get the win that I was looking for, and work towards 2009 finally being like, yes, I achieved that goal. That's a long time. So those things through sports, lessons learned through that struggle, through that journey, have served me well. I've been now retired since 2015. Have served me well beyond football and just keys to life and keys to achieving or fighting through anything in your life. Understanding like it's not going to be easy, how to work hard, how to stay focused on your vision, how to find a mentor, right? It's been tremendous.
Tell me about vision. You mentioned vision, and I know we have a lot of good friends in common that I think are really big thinkers, if not visionaries. Where did you learn to have such a great vision for life? I mean, I just think about your sports career. I think about your story, getting to the NFL, a decade long in a sport where most play 3 years and they're out. Yeah. And then just the countless examples you've had of successful business decisions. Where did you get the vision that told you this could be the life you'd have?
I think it's twofold. I think we all have dreams and visions, right? And the vision is one thing, hey, I want to one day play for the Chicago Bulls, which was my vision at 13. Along the path, I did not end up playing for the Bulls. I ended up playing for the Bears, which, as I now look back to that vision as a 13-year-old, was equally as amazing as what I thought it would be. But the vision was set at 13, and I was very clear on I was going to work to get to that point. And then through that journey, what's been really critical is like setting micro wins. So I mean, in order even to make it, I needed to make the team first. I needed to make the 53-man roster. I needed to make the practice squad. So, I've always been truly like a big picture, big vision guy. Like I'm gonna make $1 billion, right? Always. That's just how I'm cut. But I also understand like there are a million steps between here and the big vision, and being able to have micro focus to get to that next step, that little piece. And being able to do that, actually, it's incredible. When you break down your goals into like little wins, it strengthens your resilience as an entrepreneur or as just even like a fighter in life. Like when you achieve that little win and you have a moment of yes with yourself, like, man, I did that. And yeah, it's gonna be short because tomorrow you're gonna start moving towards the next vision or the next goal or the next micro step. But that's always been my DNA. It's like, you know what? And for everybody, wake up and dream the biggest dream possible. Like dream a dream so big, like people will tell you that will never happen. That's insurmountable, right? And as long as you're willing to pay the price, you're willing to get up, swing the axe every day at that massive oak tree. I don't know exactly how far you'll get towards reaching that vision, but what I can promise you is that when you stop, when you look around and say, where am I? You're gonna be in an amazing place. You're gonna be in a place that is far beyond where you started that original vision, right? And that's just always been my approach. It's just dream the big dream and then like laser focus, I'm just swinging the axe one at a time. And when things don't work out or when there's an obstacle, you gotta be able to pivot. You've gotta be able to truly assess where you are and pivot, make a change, make an adjustment and tweak so you can like get back on track. We all fall off track. We all have, struggle and challenge is ubiquitous. We will all face struggle and challenge. Everyone. Yes. I don't care how much money you have, how much, support, relationships, all that. We will all face challenges, right? Yes. So with the challenge, it's like, how do you handle it? And how can you get back on track and keep swinging?
Yeah, so you're making me think of a lot of things. I'm thinking about grit. I'm thinking about the concept of periodization and really breaking down big goals into bite-sized pieces, right? I'm also thinking about the fact that you and I have both heard Tony Robbins say before that it's only not possible or impossible until someone does it, right? I think so much about the significance of not only surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, but the significance of having really strong mentors along the way. Tell me a little bit, whether you want to disclose who it is or not, but tell me a little bit about a really meaningful and significant mentor you've had in your life, and maybe paint the picture of what that individual has done for you, so that others might learn what a mentor should look and feel like when they're looking for one.
I think a mentor is one of the most important pieces that you can have in your toolkit. We talk about this toolkit as this thing that we all have where when you face a challenge in life, you open your toolkit. And if you have the right tools in your kit, you can overcome that challenge. You pull out the tool and you fix it. You get through it. You open your toolkit. If you don't have the right tools, you're in trouble. That challenge defeats you, right? What a mentor is able to do is, as they look at, hey, this is where you're trying to go, this is what you're trying to do, and I've been there, I have the playbook to that, and in their toolkit, they have, because they've been there, they have every tool that you can imagine to tackle this path that you're about to be on. So a mentor has the ability to come in and say, all right, you're gonna do X, Y, Z, but you're also gonna face this, be prepared. When this happens, use this tool. When this person comes, use this tool. This is gonna be, for sure, maybe not today, but down the line, you're gonna face this. And then that's so critical to accelerating your growth. Without a mentor, I truly believe you can get there. But that challenge that you face, you don't have the tool, you gotta go take the time to develop the tool on your own, or it takes you longer to overcome it because you're using the wrong tool. I mean, that's all critical time that someone without a mentor loses, right? But someone with a great mentor who has the ability to make a call for them, put in some time coaching them through something, talking them through a scenario that they know they're gonna face in a new interview or something, huge towards you just breaking through and just getting to that. Like a mentor just accelerates your growth curve. And you look at, for me personally, on the football side, I remember specifically Courtney Brown. He was a first round pick from Penn State. I remember, again, I'm a rookie, 21. I've never played NFL football before, coming from Canada, playing Canadian rules football. And I remember him giving me keys, like, hey, when you see the old lineman's eyes, just watch his eyes. If his eyes shift to the second level, he's going to the second level, you got to scrape. You got to come off his ass and make the play. It's going to be like lead away from you. It'll be some motion away from you, and you got to be prepared for that. If he's looking right at you, here's what you got to see. If his hands are light, it's going to be pass so just keys like that truly just made a significant difference for me as a 21-year-old. I'm now 38. For the first time playing this new game where the O linemen are faster, I'm no longer a yard off the ball. American football, you're on the ball. You can line up right on the ball. So everything's happening so much quicker. And he gave me a few keys that instantly made me better. Instantly, my practice was better just by, hey, watch these 2-3 things, right? And I mean, it was huge for me. Yeah. And you go to the business side, I look at guys like Chris Gardner, who's a dear friend, what I love about Chris and our relationship is I'm an idea guy, I'm a vision guy. And I think one of my strengths, which is also some of my weaknesses, like I don't fear going. Like I do not fear at this point in my life putting it all to run through the wall to achieve what I believe is going to be something beneficial for myself, for my family, for what I'm trying to build. Yeah. And I can sit down with Chris and be like, hey, I want to do this X, Y, Z, and he'd be like, that's a terrible idea, is he? He just tells me like it is. He just no filter, just like it is, really his thoughts, raw, unedited. And that's so valuable, especially in the world of an athlete. You have so many people around you that will tell you what they think you want to hear. They'll tell you, they'll tell you the wrong things. They'll give you the wrong advice. Sure. And to have someone like that who has been in the trenches, he's been through it. He took himself from literally the trenches to an ultimately extremely successful businessman in our world, right? Mm-hmm. And being able, just whether I take the advice or not, being able to get real unfiltered advice has been tremendous. And I have a few guys like that in my life that, again, it doesn't matter what it is. I can call them. I mean, he might be in China doing something, and
Sure.
but he will make time to chew through issues and problems and give me real advice and insight based on his journey, based on his playbook for what he's been through.
That's great, and that's that's a great segue. I always think about, we've enjoyed a lot of personal time together, a lot of professional time together, and a lot of time doing work on behalf of others, really wanting to change the world and make an impact, right? And we talked about that just on the way here from the airport, and just how in awe I am of Samantha, my wife, who I just think is so selfless. I think part of her love and affection towards you is in seeing some of that in you. And we've had a lot of conversations and opportunities to be together on behalf of great organizations for the benefit of people and causes that are in need. Tell me a little bit about, I think the relationship that I perceive exists between your parents' work as a missionary and how, your financial reality is so different today. And yet I see so many examples like that of you today now as a successful business person. Why is that important? Why is it important for you to continue that type of work and at the level that you do it at? Because it's really impressive.
I think there's a few things. First, this journey of life that we're on is truly about connection. Regardless of how much money you make or we are going through this journey of life, and when it's all said and done, people will remember how you connected with them, how you touched their lives, and it's really about the relationships. And for me to come into a city like Chicago at such a young age, I did have a clear understanding that I was gifted with a platform, and that this platform of the NFL had the ability to add value to people's lives in our city that need support, that need love, that need to know that they're not alone through their own journey and through their own struggle. And when I look at my parents, pennies in their pocket, moved from Africa to Canada, 4 children. Despite all the things they didn't have, they were committed to giving what they could of themselves. They were committed to loving the people in our neighborhood and our community. And for me then to be fortunate to play in the NFL, to make millions of dollars playing a game, it truly had just a clear sense that it's also my responsibility. Not to go above and beyond or to tax myself, just to do what my parents did. Give of myself what I can give. Make a commitment to impact the lives of those around me. Make a commitment to serve, to lead with love, right? And that's what we did. We just made a commitment to, Chicago's my home. There's a lot of, when we started in 2007, there's a lot of kids in Chicago dealing with hunger, homelessness, having to stay home to raise their other siblings. And the question to myself is, okay, how can I be a part of helping to be the solution in these communities where these kids are going through these things? So that's where we started the Izzy's Kids program. We started the football camps, just to, sometimes people just need to know that they're not alone. Sometimes it's the little thing. You just to hug someone and say, I love you, thank you for being here. I know things aren't easy at home. Keep working. You got to still come to school though. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you got to come to class. And I appreciate you. The last month you've been doing really well. We're gonna go have bowling and pizza and just spend time. And just those kids knowing that somebody cares, someone is giving them an ear to hear what they're going through, it was transformational. That first year we had 27% increase in the attendance in the schools. All we did was go to the school and let the kids know that, hey, we love you guys and continue to work hard. And although it might not feel like it, your education, that's the key thing to get you to a better place in your life. That was it, right? And And I'm just thankful to along the way I mean, there's so much great work being done in our world, in our cities. There are, I always say there's two levels of work. There's window work, which a lot of athletes and celebrities do. We show up, all the cameras show up too. We take all the pictures, and it's just like amazing, and everybody watches on the news. But there's another level of work, the engine work that's being done in our cities and our communities. And these are people that no cameras show up when they go to these advocacy meetings. No cameras show up when they're going to touch these people's lives or to give of themselves. And for me, my commitment today is like, how can we bridge the window work and the engine work in a way to allow this engine work to be brought to the forefront, to allow the people doing the window work to support the engine work, to build a more cohesive impact community around making our communities better. And it's true. I know the adage is, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. That's a true thing, right? A community that has areas that are struggling, those areas are significant to the strength of the community. If we can circle around them, if we can uplift our challenged areas, if we can love the people in those areas and help them go from where they are to the next level, our communities get better, right? Yeah. And I want to be a part of that.
I love it when you tell those stories. And, Chad and I had a great conversation, even just about the intentionality of wanting you to be the first friend that we would have this TMD talk with. As you know, the 3 principles of TMD are lessons I've learned from my parents, that my brothers and I have all learned from them. And it's about having the mindset of abundance, right? That doing the right thing, the world will reward us eventually. The commitment to mastery and serving others, and then the commitment to the hard work. And so, when you talk about having that big vision and continuing your parents' work, when you talk about the engine work, doing the hard work, and you talk about the many different ways that Shop with the Cop or If Charities and now Impact House, the way they're really showing other people how to serve others in a masterful way. It's just super exciting. It's such an honor and a privilege and humbling to have your friendship and obviously your support through life. It's a chaotic place, and I've learned so much from these conversations that we had. I think that the enormous blessing it's been for you to be this successful puts you in the spotlight a lot. And it's been wonderful to see you win so many times throughout life, right? You deserve it. Tell me one time where you haven't won, and maybe share kind of the lesson that came from that you'll never forget.
Yeah, I think one, there's this whole talk is anchored in mindset. I have a winner's mindset. So even the times in my life that I've struggled, I take those, or I've failed and lost something, I take my perspective is, even in the challenge, like, what is the nugget of a blessing, the lesson that I can take from that? And I would say a true thing or situation that I've been in is, one, as an athlete, we see a lot of deals, right? As a young athlete, specifically, not being a business guy, I knew that I wanted to jump into developing business and being a businessman early in my career. So when I look back to some of my first transactions, I put $300,000 into a software technology company. It was literally the first investment that I made with my money at 25, 26. And as I look back on the mistake that I made there, I, really no diligence in other than I knew the guys that I was in the meeting with, and as I sit here today, let me tell you, every deal is a winning deal on the pitch. Every deal that you're gonna see is the best deal that you're ever gonna, and when you talk to younger guys, it's like, guaranteed. Every deal is gonna be the 10x amazing deal, right? And at 25, I was just like, oh my God, this was an amazing deal. It was a great software opportunity, great guys. I saw the technology, I loved it, I liked it. the diligence, I did not necessarily do the diligence that I needed to do in that deal. And along my journey, it's like, yeah, you take that lesson and you try to roll it into the next transaction, into the next relationship, into the next thing you're doing. And ultimately, going back to that toolkit, adding things from my losses to my toolkit just to make me a better player in whatever situation I might be facing down the line.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing. If there was one last thing that you'd say to folks, hey, here's one thing, keep it in the back of your mind indefinitely, it will always serve you well.
I would just say gratitude.
Yeah.
Come from a place of gratitude in all things. It brings you peace, it brings you comfort. Come with a vision of gratitude in any situation that you're in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love you, brother.
My man, I appreciate you. Love
Thank
you too,
you.
bro.
Thank you.